Hello, New Mexico, and welcome to another episode of Around the Roundhouse, the New Mexicans podcast featuring the policies, politics, and personalities of the state capitol during the 60-day session. My name is Daniel Chacon, and I'm the state government reporter for the New Mexican. Every week, my colleagues and I will be bringing you the latest news and information from the Roundhouse, as well as recapping the highlights and sharing interviews with key political figures. Our guest this week is Representative Reena Szczepanski, a Santa Fe Democrat who is now serving as Majority Floor Leader of the House. Thank you, Madam Leader, for joining us.
I'm so happy to be here with you.
Representative, first things first. I've heard some of your colleagues butcher your last name. The two Z's seem to kind of trip people up. Is there an easy way to remember how to pronounce your last name?
I mean, I try to think of something that it rhymes with, but that's pretty difficult. It's just Szczepanski. Very, very easy. And when in doubt, just call me Reena, because that's actually what I prefer.
Sounds good. Thank you. Representative, or Madam Leader, I should say, you've served in the House a short time, just since 2023, but you're no stranger to the Capitol, especially after serving as Chief of Staff to former House Speaker Brian Egolf for 8 years. What was it like to transition from staffer to lawmaker?
You know, I loved being a staffer. And before that, I had been an advocate, so I had seen it from that vantage point too. So I think my first days serving as a legislator, it was just so strange to be on the other side of the desk, and sort of interacting with all the people that are doing the things that I used to do. But I love this process. And obviously, since I've worked in and out of it and around it for so many years, and I love working with the community, and this is just a different way to work with the community. I certainly have had to get used to being more in the spotlight because as a staffer, I really got to help other people do really well in the spotlight. So especially my first couple months, I would sit back and think, well, what would I tell myself? If I was back as Chief of Staff, what would I say to myself right now to deal with whatever situation I was thinking through? But it is wonderful to have all the layers of knowledge that I've built up over the years, because I really understand all the different ways that a bill can move through the process and really try to be ahead of the game, understand what pitfalls there might be coming on a specific piece of legislation and try to anticipate that. So all of that experience comes to bear. I still have those moments where I just think, I can't believe I'm here and doing it and doing this role. But it's been wonderful.
Madam Leader, give us the scoop on Brian Egolf. Was he a demanding boss?
You know what? The real deal on Brian Egolf is that he is an incredible legislator. He was an incredible speaker. And we approached everything as a team, which was awesome. And still to this day, our families are very close. We always get together at the holidays with all the kids. And it was truly a wonderful work partnership. And we just focused on getting things done sort of relentlessly for the state, and woke up every day thinking, what else can we do? What else can we do? And that was awesome to be able to work with someone like that.
Well, sort of unrelated to that topic, I mean, what are your two biggest priorities of the 60-day session?
Yeah, my two priorities are, one, making things more affordable for New Mexicans, everyday folks, whether that be groceries, healthcare. I have worked on healthcare policy a lot, and so I'm really looking at how to make healthcare affordable and accessible, continuing that work, protecting New Mexican healthcare, whether it be reproductive healthcare, or also quality healthcare when we see big mergers and acquisitions in the healthcare arena. I'm working on a very large bill with Senator Katie Duhigg to address mergers and acquisitions, and basically to say, is patient care going to be affordable and accessible and the same quality before and after this merger? Like what we witnessed here in Santa Fe with Christus St. Vincent, really having a process where we're protecting the patients and making sure they're getting care. So those are really my two things: affordability of everyday life and healthcare. Those are things I'm passionate about.
The bill on dealing with mergers, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that's kind of designed to give the public some transparency, some information about what's happening behind the scenes.
Absolutely. And I think what I have learned from the community and all the listening sessions we did last summer on this topic, the community often has no idea what's going on behind the doors of the hospital. And they don't know until they need that care. You know, they're in that emergency situation and they're all of a sudden realizing, oh my gosh, this service isn't provided anymore. Or I now need to drive 2 hours to get access to this particular set of care. So those are the things that we, as a very first step, we have to have transparency. What's going on in these big institutions? In part because they're getting a lot of public funding, and it's really important that we're making sure those dollars are spent wisely.
Madam Leader, I don't have to tell you, it's been a busy first few weeks here at the Roundhouse. What can New Mexicans expect in the weeks ahead?
You know, you're going to see a big emphasis on affordability, on community safety. Child well-being is a big one. You know, I'm a mom. I've got 2 school-age kids. So you'll see a lot of emphasis on child well-being in the coming weeks. And I think this session has started off at one of the fastest paces that I've seen, actually. A lot of big bills are moving. We're being very aggressive in terms of moving things quickly, reviewing them, vetting them. I know I've been up till, midnight reading bills to be ready for the next day. Everyone is working really hard. And, sometimes we see the legislature sort of get off to a slow start and people are focused more on some of the other ceremonial aspects. Not this year. We are moving very quickly.
Let's get to work kind of situation. Madam Leader, you made history in New Mexico as the first Asian American to hold a leadership position in the legislature when you were selected majority whip in your first term. Take us back to that moment and what you felt.
Oh my gosh. When we celebrated Asian American Pacific Islander and Native Hawaiian Day, the first session, it was very emotional. And in part because the community had been fighting to have that day for many years. And it had never been successful. And so when I became a part of leadership, one of the things I really wanted to do was have that day, have that joint session, a day of celebrating all those communities. And I was able to get it done. And that felt so good to me. And then we had this day where you looked in the gallery and the guests on the floor, and there are just so many different Asian communities represented. It was absolutely unbelievable. I don't even really know how to describe it except that it was very emotional. Certainly feels like a big responsibility also to make sure that I am really opening the doors to all of our diverse communities, even more so than I had previously. It's always been a big passion of mine, but for members of I don't think I quite realized that for members of the AAPI NH community to see someone like me in a role that I have is so meaningful to them. I could get emotional right now just talking about it. And I want to live up to those expectations.
Madam Leader, on the issue of diversity, New Mexico made headlines after the November election after securing the largest female legislative majority in U.S. history. Tell us about your role in that very intentional effort to bring more women and people of color into the legislature, because this goes back to your role at Emerge New Mexico, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, absolutely. I became executive director of Emerge New Mexico in 2010. And I had been an advocate previously. So I kept thinking to myself, what would it be like if the people that were voting on these issues that I was bringing forward were more representative of the community? And at that time, and so proud to say that it's not an issue right now, at that time, that would meant really more women, getting more women into these seats. It also meant younger people and having more working parents in the Roundhouse as well. But so we set off with a mission. My first year at Emerge, we were so proud to have 4 graduates on the ballot that year. And by the time I left, we had over 50 graduates on the ballot. And that training program just instilled women with confidence, with the skills, with the knowledge that they needed. And then I got the chance to work with Speaker Egolf on very intentionally recruiting a very diverse set of folks to run for House seats specifically. So I think what you can take away is that the House has led the way on a lot of these issues of representation. We have an incredible set of working parents. We have an incredible female majority. For 3 cycles now, the Democratic caucus has been majority women. And now it's spread. And I think it's part of what we were just talking about. You see someone that looks like you in office and you think, oh, maybe I should think about doing that. Maybe I could connect with that kind of public service. And so I think we have more work to do, of course, always. But it's so gratifying to be leading the country in this way. It's just so exciting. When I tell people from other states, I'm in the New Mexico legislature, they say, you've got all those women there. I say, yes. So it's very exciting.
And that partnership with Egolf, or part of the motivation behind that effort, was after Democrats had lost the majority in the House. Is that correct?
That's right. And we were faced with a big task of how do we retake the majority? How do we show the voters of New Mexico that Democrats do share their values and will deliver on their priorities? And with the leadership of Speaker Egolf, Speaker Martinez was a House member at the time too and was very involved, was how do we do this with women and people of color at the forefront? How do we do this with representation and making sure we're getting candidates, not just sort of the usual person that you might recruit, but some of the unusual candidates that have real life experience that belong in this building?
Madam Leader, when I walked into your office and to our listeners were sitting in Leader Szczepanski's office at the Capitol, I noticed that you have a picture alongside Kamala Harris. You were a big, big supporter of Kamala Harris in the presidential race. What do you make of the first weeks of the Trump administration?
Well, what I'm witnessing is a bit of chaos and unfortunately a lot of anger, a lot of policies that are driven by a lot of negativity and anger. And I am a very positive person. I'm always looking for how can we work together? How can we do put our politics aside at times and do what's best for the people? And when I see all of this partisan rhetoric just driving policy changes that are going to have really serious impacts on regular folks. I've been reading these stories of VA employees who don't know how they're going to continue to serve veterans. That's a huge impact on New Mexico because we have a huge veteran population that we really prioritize and want to take care of. And when we have the federal government sowing chaos into the VA, of all things, that is supposed to be a safety net for people who have earned those benefits, it's fighting for our country. It's really discouraging. It's unnecessary. So to me, I am grateful that I get to work at the state level because we can work across party lines. We can do what's right for New Mexico. I'm accountable to the people that run into me at the grocery store every weekend. Usually I'm wearing my, mom tracksuit and have way too many things that I'm trying to multitask on. But, I see my voters each and every day and they say to me, this is what's important to me. I wish we had a little bit more of that in the White House right now and a little more accountability. But, New Mexico, we're ready. The legislature is ready to do what we need to do to stand up for our folks.
Bringing it back to that state level politics, the majority leaders in both chambers are both from Santa Fe. Do you get along with Leader Worth?
He has been nothing but kind and supportive to me. Over the years, I worked with him a lot when I was chief of staff as well. And so to me, it's wonderful to have a colleague that we can talk about all of the issues facing the state and our caucuses. And our roles are a little bit different. House and Senate rules are a little bit different, but it's awesome to have this kind of leadership in Santa Fe. And we also take the responsibility to the entire state very seriously. And we've both spent so much time traveling around the state and meeting with folks from every community. So I think we're both very aligned on that too.
Madam Leader, we were talking earlier about your position at you being Executive Director of Emerge New Mexico. You've actually held a variety of jobs. You were at one point the state's hepatitis program manager. You were also the state director of the Drug Policy Alliance. What is next for Leader Szczepanski? Can we maybe see a mayoral run in the future?
I am not going to start that rumor.
It's already started, Madam Leader.
No, Daniel, I am the daughter of immigrants who basically clawed their way to this country. I mean, for me to even be in this office in this moment is stunning to me, honestly. Sometimes I sit back and I think, I cannot believe where my life has taken me. But the one thing is, the one theme throughout all of my jobs has been service. I am very focused on how can I take my time here to improve the situation, improve the lives for the regular folks. I grew up very working class. I can remember shopping at Goodwill for, my first communion dress, things like that. These are issues that our families are grappling with. So that's what keeps me going and drives me. So I just, I look at what's in front of me, and we have so much work to do in the legislature. So I'm really happy with where I get to be and very grateful.
Fantastic. Madam Leader, is there anything I missed to ask you, anything that you want to add or to share with our listeners? I'm used to saying readers, to share with our listeners about the 60-day session.
I would just say Santa Fe plays a very special role in the legislative session. We not only host the legislature and the legislators, but we also have such a good track record of participation in the process. There's folks from Santa Fe in every committee hearing, in the building, coming to talk to me about things. So I just want to encourage all the listeners to please keep it up. Please keep coming and visiting with us. Our policies only get better when we hear from everybody. And so Republican, Democrat, Independent, we want you all in the building talking with us. And I love to hear the diversity of opinions. So I would just welcome everybody.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Madam Leader. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Daniel.
We'll take a quick break and discuss some of the highlights of the third week of the session and look ahead to what's to come in week 4.
This is Patrick Dorsey, publisher of the Santa Fe New Mexican. Looking to reach a wider audience and grow your business? For 175 years, the Santa Fe New Mexican has been the trusted voice of Santa Fe, with unmatched local reach in print and online. In addition to our long-standing, independent, family-owned newspaper, we have a full-fledged marketing team with the expertise to help you succeed in the 21st century. From traditional print to precision-targeted digital advertising, we have the tools to connect you with your ideal customers. Partner with us and see the results for yourself. Advertise with the Santa Fe New Mexican and unlock your business's full potential. Visit us at santafenewmexican.com/advertising or call us at 505-995-3852. Thank you.
We're back with Around the Roundhouse. I'm your host, Daniel Chacon. Week 3 of the 60-day session got off to a spirited start with a pro-immigrant rally that drew some 1,300 demonstrators to the Capitol on Monday. Dubbed the Immigrant and Workers' Day of Action, the event started with a march from Rail Yard Park to the Roundhouse, where a steady stream of elected officials took to the stage to express their support for immigrants. Senator Mo Maestas, an Albuquerque Democrat, drew loud cheers when he told the crowd he had introduced a bill that would prohibit police in New Mexico from using public funds to enforce federal immigration law.
Today, the clouds cleared and it's a beautiful day in Santa Fe. And with all of our strength, the clouds will clear on this administration, the sun will shine, and we will make it through the storm here in New Mexico. So get up every morning, don't despair, go to work, go to school, because we will maintain the promise of this country. The promise of this country is that everybody who comes here can live the dream and live a beautiful life for their children and their grandchildren.
Santa Fe Mayor Alan Weber welcomed the crowd to New Mexico's capital city, saying Santa Fe is an immigrant-friendly city.
I don't know about you, but there may be some ICE agents here today. And we welcome everybody. We welcome everybody. And if they're here, I have two messages. One, we're not afraid. Let me say it again. We are not afraid. We're not afraid because we stand in the light and we stand against the darkness. And to the ICE agents, I say, here's our message of hope to you. Quit today. Quit your job. Come join us. And that way, 10 or 20 years from now, you won't have to explain to your grandchildren why you helped to write one of the darkest chapters in our country's history. You can say you quit and came into the light with the rest of us.
Wednesday saw another demonstration at the Capitol. Hundreds of people gathered outside the Roundhouse for a protest against President Donald Trump as well as Elon Musk. Musk is a billionaire Tesla and SpaceX owner who has appeared to exert outsized influence in the administration. Demonstrators held signs and yelled chants in disapproval of many of the policies and developments that have dominated headlines in the first few weeks of Trump's second presidential term, including mass deportation of undocumented immigrants. The protest was part of a nationwide movement calling for demonstrations and marches in all 50 state capitals in quote-unquote resistance to Trump. May Smith of Albuquerque was among the protesters.
I feel like Trump right now is trying to extrude his power, and that's not very good for our economy and our society and things like that. And so I think what really brought me down today was just him trying to get him out of office, trying to protect our rights of abortion, of education, of immigrant status, things like that, because he's currently trying to take those privileges away. And I feel like it's our duty as the people to say something, because based on history, like, people who never said anything allowed it to happen, you know? So if you don't say anything, you're part of the problem.
Inside the Capitol, lawmakers continued to pound away at bills both big and small, including a measure that proposes major changes to the state's per-student funding formula, as well as one that seeks to prohibit construction of new oil and gas facilities within 1 mile of public schools. Attorney General Raul Torres also unveiled new legislation designed to enhance oversight and accountability of administrator contracts at public colleges and universities. The push for more scrutiny of such contracts comes after the regents at Western New Mexico University approved a $1.9 million payout to its former president amid ongoing investigations over improper use of public funds.
As you know, this action really gained a real sense of urgency when, on top of the misconduct that was under investigation in terms of the former president at Western New Mexico University, the Board of Regents at that institution made what I believe to be an unconscionable decision to award a golden parachute, which, based on our calculations, is nearly 60 times the total compensation of the lowest paid worker in that institution.
Week 4 of the session promises to be another busy one with a steady stream of committee hearings. Bills are just now starting to go through their second committee assignment, and it's likely both chambers will begin to consider bills on the floor. As always, the New Mexican will be there to cover the goings-on at the Capitol. Thanks again to House Majority Leader Szczepanski for joining us, and thank you for listening to Around the Roundhouse. Join us each week as we share the latest from the Capitol by subscribing to our podcast through Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. The New Mexican has a devoted team of reporters and photographers at the Roundhouse each day during the session. We're there to provide you with the latest developments. Follow our coverage online at santafenewmexican.com, where you can also subscribe to our political newsletter, The Roundhouse Report, for updates sent directly to your inbox. Until next time, I'm Daniel Chacon. And this has been Around the Roundhouse.